Hi, I'm Jeremy, and today I'm going to go over a review of a character for the game Unmatched. That character will be Sherlock Holmes. Now, Sherlock Holmes is one of the characters in the Cobble and Fog set. Now, of course, Sherlock Holmes is from the stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, where he is probably the world's greatest consulting detective, and is able to solve many mysteries by means of deductive reasoning. And he always has his trusty sidekick, Dr. Watson, along with him. And so the character, as all characters in Unmatched are, is kind of themed around that mystery solving and using brains and schemes to be able to win the game here and to be able to defeat the other opponents that you will have on the board here. Sherlock Holmes is a melee fighter. He has a health of 16. He has the one sidekick, Dr. Watson, who has a health of 8 and is ranged. They both have a move of 2, which is kind of your standard move for maneuvering. Their special ability is effects on Holmes and Dr. Watson cards cannot be canceled by an opponent. Effects on any cards can be canceled. Now, this is really a huge special ability here for Holmes and Watson. As I go through the deck and show you some of these cards, we'll see why that is so big. And so on the Cobble and Fog set, each of the characters has a particular color that is associated with them. In this case, it is yellow for Holmes and Watson. So everything that they have will be themed in kind of black or grayscale with yellow highlights. You can see that not only on the art on the cards, but also on the health dials here as well. So let's go ahead and get into their cards here. We'll start off with all the Holmes cards. We have an attack card here for Holmes, which has an attack of 5 and boost of 2, with an after combat move of moving Holmes up to 3 spaces. Oh, on the didn't show you there, on the game is afoot, there are 2 of those in your deck. Counterpunch is a really mean one here. This is a versatile card with 3. After combat, if Holmes is adjacent to the opposing fighter, deal 2 damage to that fighter. That is really crazy there, because you could use this as a defense card and deal 2 damage to your opponents. You could also use it as an attack and get a couple of damage points on them. You don't expect when you're attacking to have to take damage, so if you can deal 2 damage to someone when they are attacking you, that is really great. There are 3 of these in the deck. The Deuce Strategy is another versatile card with a value of 3 and a boost of 1. During combat, you may change the printed value of the opponent's card to its boost value. If the card does not have a boost value, it's treated as a 0. There are other characters that have these, but once again, those can be canceled on the other characters. These can't be canceled on Holmes. There are 3 of these in your deck. Going into some of Holmes' schemes, choose an opponent. This is Master of Disguise, which is, disguises were one big thing that were always done in the Holmes novels, so it's nice to see that in here. Choose an opponent. Holmes swaps spaces with their hero. Deal 1 damage to that hero. This is damage coming out of a scheme. You can move someone to another place, so you can deal damage to them, and you can potentially put them in a place that they don't want to be in. So this can be really valuable card there. Anytime you can do damage as a scheme, I mean, there's just no way to do anything against a scheme. I mean, that's just, you just have to deal with whatever's done there. Confirm Suspicion, another scheme card. Choose an opponent and name a value. Your opponent must choose and discard one card matching that attack or defense value. Their hero takes damage equal to the boost value of that discarded card. If they do not have a card of the named value, they must reveal their hand instead. There are 3 of these in there. You'll just call out a number, and you'll call out like 3, and they have to grab one of their cards that's a 3. They lose that card, and then they take damage to whatever the boost value is on that. So if you can happen to get one that they have in there, they can lose a card and take some damage and not really have any defense against it. So that is really crazy. This is something that could be particularly useful against the Raptors, because since it says that their hero takes damage, that would go against all 3 of the Raptors. Now, as this card is on here, you're just kind of, as you look at it, it looks like you're just kind of blindly guessing what the number would be in there and what number you want to call out. Well, what if you didn't have to blindly guess it? That is where Eliminate the Impossible comes in. Choose an opponent, look at their hand, and choose one card for them to discard. Now, this is a pretty good thing here, forcing someone to discard, and not a blind discard, but you choosing one to discard. That is pretty powerful, but really for Holmes, the big part of this is going to be looking at their hand. Because if you can play this Eliminate the Impossible first, you can go in there, look at their hand, choose a card for them to discard, and then if you happen to have Confirm Suspicion, you can play that immediately afterwards, and then you know what cards are in their hand. So while you're looking at their hand to pick this one card on Eliminate the Impossible, you are looking for the card that you're going to call out for Confirm Suspicion. Now you want to make sure that you get them to pick or make them have to choose the correct card. If they have multiple cards of a certain value, they're going to choose the one that they want, and probably the one with the least boost value. So you try to hit them with the right boost value on there, with the right one that makes them have to play the one that you want them to play. There are 3 Confirm Suspicions. There are only 2 Eliminate the Impossibles. So you get the 2 chances to look at their deck. Although on this one here, if you end up choosing a number that they don't have in their deck, they have to show you their hand. And this one also is another one that if you're able to look at their deck, this can be quite a defense card here the next time they attack you. Place this card face up. Predict the printed attack value of the opponent's card. If you predicted the correct value, cancel all effects on your opponent's card and ignore its attack value. This will just completely and absolutely just cancel a card. It's just like they threw it out there and nothing happens. That card is canceled. And once again, the effects on this card cannot be canceled because effects on Holmes cards can't be canceled. And so if you're able to remember what you're looking at with Eliminate the Impossible, you can potentially not have to blind choose this here, but actually pick something that you know that there's a good chance of them having in their hand. Now we'll go on to the Dr. Watson cards. This is all the stack of the, well, that top one is the player card, but rest of these are the Holmes specific cards right there. We'll start off with Dr. Watson's card here. Service Revolver, an attack of 5, and that's it. It's just an attack of 5. There are no effects on it there, but that is an attack of 5 for a sidekick, which is huge. And you get 2 of these in your hand as Dr. Watson there. So that is really one of the stronger, one of the more powerful sidekick cards there, really, for a sidekick to be able to have 2 5 attacks. And of course, Watson is also ranged, so he can hit anyone in a range. He can hit anyone in his zone with that. So That's really powerful. This is a versatile card with a value of 3, fixed point in a changing age. If Dr. Watson is adjacent to Holmes, they each recover 1 health. So this can just instantly regain health for Watson and Holmes if you can get them next to each other. And that can be done as an attack or as a defense. So try to make sure whenever you're using this one that you can get Watson and Holmes next to each other. Speaking of getting Watson and Holmes next to each other, administer aid. Place Dr. Watson in a space adjacent to Holmes. Holmes recovers 1 health. Draw 1 card. So this is a card that will replace itself with the card draw. And also will move Watson up near Holmes. Now you could move him up there just to get him closer to be able to help fight or something. If you happen to have both of these cards in your hand at the same time, you could move Watson over to Holmes and regain a health, and then play that, and then regain another health for Holmes and 1 for Watson. So that's another combo that could be really, really well used there. And you also get to gain a card draw on that. And so that is all of the Holmes and Watson cards. That's all of your Watson cards, and that's all of your Holmes cards. And these cards here, once again, all of these cards in your deck can't have their effects canceled. And these are the ones that could potentially have their effects canceled. So that is really something there. That's really a huge, as I've pointed out there, a huge ability for Holmes and Watson. Going through these are all versatile cards. Study methods. If you won the combat, look at your opponent's hand. This is another way to potentially get a look at their hand for some of those other cards in there that can have you doing things if you're able to correctly guess which cards are in their hand. And like Sherlock Holmes, you should never be just wildly guessing which cards are in their hand. You should be deducing which cards are in their hands so that you know what to play. Education never ends. This is a versatile 3. If you won the combat, your opponent draws 1 card. If you lost the combat, you draw 2. That is a really weird after combat thing. And finally, these last ones here, this is Feint. This is a card that you'll see with multiple characters there. Immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card. People that try to play feints on you, but feints don't work on your Holmes and Watson cards, only on your innies. Okay, so that's what's going on in Holmes' deck. And in addition to his special ability there, which really is quite strong, you've also got the abilities on the cards there. And the main things to remember on that is being able to look at the hands before playing those ones where you're having to guess which ones are in there to get the effects on it. You want to know which ones are in there. Really, Watson is one of the stronger sidekicks, so you definitely want to keep Watson around. The service revolver cards, you want to make sure you get at least both of those out, or at least one of those before you end up losing Watson. Also, all of your healing is done through Watson, and of course, it's because Watson is a medical doctor who was in the Army. That's why he has the service revolver, because he knows how to use the service revolver. So what are some good ways to play against Sherlock Holmes? Well, there's a few tactics in there. One would be trying to get rid of Watson early, but Sherlock generally doesn't want to get into just a duking it out battle of just like throwing attacks at each other all the time. It needs to be much more nuanced and schemed. And so if you can get him into a position where he's having to, attack or defend a lot. I'm going to add a few other thoughts here about countering Sherlock Holmes, because you know his cards can't be canceled, but that doesn't mean that they still can't be countered. One example here would be counterpunch. Okay, so if Holmes is playing counterpunch as an attack, any card that gives the opposing fighter movement either in themselves or with Holmes can effectively get rid of that just by moving himself or Holmes and then no longer being adjacent. So movement cards are very good to use against Sherlock if you're trying to avoid counterpunch. Deuce Strategy is another one that can actually be countered. This is changing the printed value of the opponent's card to its boost value. Let's go ahead and go into a scenario here to show you how this would happen. Let's say we got Bruce Lee here, and Bruce Lee on his turn maneuvers, draws a card, whatever, and decides to attack Holmes after moving. Holmes would defend, so we'll take a look at the attacking card and the defending card. We'll see the way that these play here. I've chosen this momentous shift because there are a bunch of characters that have momentous shift. It's a very common card. There's other cards that can do similar things that would work well. We see here that we have initially a tie here with threes. We go in the order that they play, and this is what's important, that the defender goes first, which Holmes was the defender. So during combat, changes the printed value of the opponent's card to its boost value. So this changes to a 1 at that point, and you would be like, well, Holmes would win and have the advantage. But then Bruce Lee's effect kicks in, which would be if he started in a different space, the value of this card is 5. So that would change it from the 1 to the 5. So the order that they work affects how this plays out. And in this case, being the defender and having your effect first is actually a negative. So you can see that these cards are not just like indefensible things that can't ever be countered. Some other thoughts for potentially countering Sherlock. One is to make sure that you don't keep a lot of cards with a high boost value in your hand. If you don't have anything with a high boost value, then you can't take as much of a hit from this. Some people have had success by keeping a very low card count. If you don't have a lot of cards in your hand, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Sherlock to be able to attack you. Now, generally speaking, not having a lot of cards in your hand is kind of a negative. It makes it hard to play, so you'd have to figure out a way to work around that and play with that. So that's a look at Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to be going over other characters and showing you those, and you'll be able to take a look at some of the other characters here in Unmatched and see how they do.